Thanks for having us today. My name's Tim Jones. I'm the country manager for Profisee in the UK. I've got my colleague Dave Lawrence on the call as well. Dave's our pre-sales technical consultant for the UK and Europe. We're one of the gold sponsors for SQL Relay, so this is really a taster for what we will have at the events through the UK this year. Please come along and have a talk to us. Come and have a talk to us about SQL MDS and also obviously about Maestro. What we're going to run through today is an example of how you can use master data to improve your business intelligence dashboards and business intelligence experience for your business users using Microsoft SQL Master Data Services and Maestro on top. So as I say, my name is Tim Jones and I'm the country manager. What we're going to run through basically is a little introduction on Profisee so you know who we are. Dave will give us a little bit of an overview on master data, what it is and why we should be mastering it. We're actually going to give an overview of what the components are of master data management, and then we'll actually be showing you a short demonstration of the Maestro interface and how it's used within the system. So if we move forward. Profisee actually has got quite an interesting history. So those of you that know SQL Enterprise licensing will realize within the license pack there is a master data services component. That was an original product of our company when we were a company called Strateger. Back in 2001, Strateger was created by our directors who basically came from a finance background. They were accountants and they wanted a system that could help them with hierarchy management and also matching of data. They worked together with our CTO and developed a system that was at the time being used quite extensively with IBM Cognos. We did a very large system for Microsoft IT in Redmond and came to the attention of the SQL Server team. And in fact, they liked our product so much they bought us. They then integrated that technology component into SQL Enterprise 2008 R2, and it became the Master Data Services engine within SQL that's there today. So Profisee was formed out of Strateger, and we used the money that Microsoft gave us to basically carry on our roadmap into the future. We have a very unique working partnership with Microsoft. We are a gold ISV for Microsoft, but we do actually do the support globally on SQL Master Data Services and also the training on Master Data Services. So if you're looking at using that at the moment, or you are using it in anger and you need some help, then by all means come and talk to us. We brought out a product called Master Data Maestro in 2010, and this basically sits alongside SQL MDS and augments the power. As you'll see as we go through the session, it basically speeds up any activity you do within Master Data Services. The engine itself is extremely powerful. One of the issues that we see our customers have is that when Microsoft took the technology and put it into SQL, they stripped out a certain amount of the user interface simply because there were third-party patents on that. So Microsoft like you to use .NET to basically program the interface, and then you would surface the data usually using the Excel spreadsheet front end, which isn't always good enough if you're putting an enterprise-level master data management system in place. As you can see from the timeline here, we came to the attention of Gartner back in 2011. They called us a cool vendor because we're very much a disruptive technology within master data management. Our competition out there are people like Informatica, obviously Oracle and IBM. And we now have a fully rounded solution that is competitive to the large-scale providers in the marketplace. The interesting thing for yourselves within IT and also for your business users is that our cost is about 25% of an IBM or an Informatica project, and our total cost of ownership on moving forward is extremely low compared to those other products, simply because of the way we do licensing. So we've been developing the product ongoing from 2010. We have Irwin integration for those that want to bring models over from Irwin. We have what we call adapters for connecting into Dynamics, CRM, and Salesforce.com for the two-way flow of information. We have a workflow and SDK component, so you can now program the product directly, and also you can have a workflow that will put event messaging onto enterprise service buses. We are available in the Azure Marketplace. Our base server is up there, so if you search on Profisee, you'll come across us. And if you wanted to spin up an instance using Azure, you certainly can do that to get a bit of a flavor for how the system works. We have a new version due out this year with a thing called Federation Manager, and that's really where we scale quite massively. And this is a request from our very largest customers around the world. They want to make master data management hubs and connect them together. We are recognized as the best in class for gold record management, and that's because we have a unique IP around fuzzy logic matching and token matching. Now, a lot of people use SSIS packages to do a certain amount of base matching, which is fine, but it doesn't really hit the mark when you've got a lot of information you want to try and match together and create that golden record. And that's where Maestro really comes into its own. So this is just a subset of our customers that are using the product today. As you can see from here, we've got everything from small companies up to the largest, such as Ernst & Young. Atkins is a UK consultancy, a construction consultancy that use our product, and even Intel are using our product to manage product information with their chipsets. Our biggest customer around the world is Domino's Pizza. They bought into our system about 18 months ago. They're now using it to master 500 million records for their marketing teams, and it enables them to get a 360 view of their customers and also connect their customers via Twitter and Facebook to really be able to target individuals, which has never been done before. People like Revlon are using it within the product information side, and Revlon had a big issue with their lipsticks in that in every country you went to there was a different SKU for a different lipstick, and a different color had a different name, and they could never get a single sight of actually how many products they were selling globally. They used Maestro to master that data and got their product set down from 50,000 different SKUs around the world and matched it down to about 15,000 records. And then they could actually present using BI a much clearer view of their product sets around the world. So as I say, it can be used across the board. It's a platform. It's not just in the CRM section or in the product side. You can use it basically to master any data you have within your business. So the challenges that we see today within the business intelligence community is very much that it's great using things like Power BI, Tableau, ClickView, etc., and presenting excellent dashboards to your business users. But the biggest problem IT has is that when they present the dashboards to the business look at it and go, the dashboard looks great, but I don't believe the data, because the business obviously has a gut feel about the data as they handle it on a day-to-day basis. And that's a step that a lot of people don't quite take on board, in that the data quality is suspect. They don't actually have a version of truth within the business. And they have many systems that have overlapping data. And when you bring them all together to present through a dashboard, then obviously you're duplicating a lot of that data. Now, the business demands agility from IT, and it's always been a bit of a struggle for IT to keep up with business. So what we're going to show today is very much how you can take the lead with business and actually prove your worth to the business and hopefully project your projects in the future. And we want to remove this thing where IT is seen as a blocker. Now, we've been working with a number of companies in the UK in this area, and we engage not only with IT but also with the businesses. And some of the comments we get back from the business are things like, we have an entertainment company we're working with, and simple things such as they had 10 different lines and 10 different names for a pint of Carlsberg, depending on which club they're in or which pub they was using it, etc. Each system within their business had a different definition of a customer. They all talked about the same customer, but because they had different types of system, the customer was entered in a different way everywhere. Things like the product. The product is spelled differently in every country. So we're doing some work with a very large pharmaceutical company. And again, although the medicines are standardized across the world, the packaging for them is different, the way it's spelt with the localization is different, and even the product numbers can be different, although they contain the same item. So, you know, your CRM systems, your ERP, etc., they all have different codes for the same thing, and this is the big challenge you have within business. It's gone a little bit unseen in the past simply because we haven't had to surface dashboards so much. So when you run a report for a business user, it takes a bit of time. You bring the data together, and there's probably a lot of manual process within there to bring the data and make it clean. That's not good enough today. People want dashboards which are almost instantaneous and reflect the business on an hour-by-hour basis. To do that, you have to master your data in the background and get rid of these duplicates. And that's where Maestro comes into play. So what I'm going to do is hand over to Dave, and Dave's going to talk to us about what master data is and give us some examples, and then we'll flow through to a demo. And just a reminder, this is being recorded, so if you've come into this a bit late, don't worry, you can go back to it before. As I say, this is a taster for you to come along and meet us at the SQL Relay events this year. Dave, over to you.
Thanks, Tim. My name is Dave Lawrence, and I'm going to be taking you through the rest of this presentation and then into a demo of what Maestro can provide. But first of all, so just to put the context and bring everybody onto the same page, we're talking about the ability to be able to identify and manage master data throughout the business. And you see on the screen in front of you a number of different rows of data that perhaps is being presented through an Excel spreadsheet, or perhaps it's something that's in your business intelligence system. And here we can quite quickly recognize that the data here comes from a number of different domains that we're managing through the business. So there's clearly some information about product, there's some information about customer, and there's some information perhaps via a trading partner that we want to be able to isolate. So one of the things that we're not doing here is we're typically not capturing and not managing the transactional data. Now, the transactional data is important. It's the thing that's actually driving the metrics on your business intelligence systems. But what we're typically doing here is managing the data that makes up the hierarchies and the dimensions that we're using for managing the information within our systems, and making sure that we can identify and remove things like duplicate customers and products to make those more accessible and more analyzable when we're having a look at them through a business intelligence system. So master data, to define it more tightly, is something that's definitely around nouns and entities that are used within your business. And inevitably, it's different within different types of businesses and different types of structures of the way that you may manage your IT systems and manage the way that you do business. As I've mentioned already, it's typically not transactional data. It's not about how many products you've sold to which customers, but it is about the customers and those products and the channels through which you do business. It's often fairly slowly changing. So unlike some items in a transactional system, it's the things that don't change all that often. The addresses on your customers don't change that frequently. It's that type of activity. Often, though, we'll also include things like reference data. That might be things that put our information in context. So that might be the country or the county that the customer is taking place in. It may be the range of the products that we have that actually make sense. And there's a series of attributes and properties and relationships around that master data that put it in context. And clearly all of this data is worthwhile managing. So it puts it into context, it makes sure that it's something that we understand and control, and something that we ought to be able to identify, to be able to manage, but not just manage from an IT perspective. What we're looking at here is being able to share the responsibility with the business side of our organizations, where business owners can actually take responsibility for looking after the data that they control. So a product manager may be responsible for managing products and the line items that we sell as products on orders, but it really is perhaps that product manager's responsibility to manage all of the product information that's running through the business. But often the master data that we're having a look at supports many different types of domains, and the advantage of the technology that we're going to be showing you in a moment is it really is cross-dimensional, the kind of things that we can use to manage anything within our business. It could be employees. Some of our customers use it to be able to track how consultants are billed on different projects, even though they work for specific business units in a certain part of the country. It's not uncommon for them to be able to go to another company in another country and undertake some work there. So to be able to understand those organizational structures is quite key to that. It could involve franchises or certifications or policies or reference data. Any domain, in fact, that makes sense for that information, that makes it very critical to be able to understand that information and how we use it throughout the business in order to make more sense of it. But when it comes down to it, that does sound fairly dry, it does sound fairly academic, but these are the kind of things that do find their way into the challenges that we have with some of the information systems that we try and drive the business with. And it causes all sorts of challenges around things like data quality, about being able to report effectively that we're having a proper understanding of the customers that we're using. It could be that we're looking to retain customers or understand fraud. It could also be a challenge around the fact that we, as a business, want to be able to merge or acquire other businesses and integrate their systems, or even more challenging perhaps sometimes when we need to demerge or split a piece of the business off. And to be able to do that, to be able to do it accurately, but also to be able to do that very quickly, and to be able to roll that out across multiple systems from a central information base becomes the important part of what we're looking to achieve. Now, the one thing that you can use already with SQL Server Enterprise is use Microsoft's Master Data Services, MDS. Now, that's something that Tim has mentioned already, and it was part of the relationship between Profisee and Microsoft before in the past, where we created a product that was then acquired and integrated into Microsoft SQL Server. And they took a series of actions there with that existing product in order to make it fit inside a SQL Server type of environment. They do have a series of abilities to model and manage the business rules that are managed within the business. They've included Active Directory styled security and access provisions through the use of the technology, and the ability to be able to bulk load and subscribe to that information through the MDS interface. There's a degree of hierarchy management to be able to manage the hierarchy throughout the business, and deployment management and versioning of that information is also a critical part of the functionality. There's also the ability to be able to audit and log and manage information and see the transactions that have happened before in the past. And Microsoft have done a reasonably good job of building an Excel add-in that then surfaces that information, but some people have complained that perhaps that's a little slow and a little cumbersome to use. So that's one of the benefits that we bring to the table in terms of the Profisee tool, Master Data Maestro, that speeds up the capabilities that you see on the table there to move things forward. So why should we be talking about SQL Server and MDS? Well, we're the best source of the training for this type of activity. We've written many books on the subject. We hold student training in many different locations around master data services, and then extend that and show you how we can uptick and provide extra capabilities using the Maestro technology as well. And we've been providing this support since 2007, so it's not as though we're new to the game here. We've provided these kind of services for quite some time, and we even provide Microsoft with third-level support on MDS when they find that some clients have challenges around using MDS and deploying it in the real world. So that's MDS. What do we do as Profisee beyond that? Well, our master data management solution takes the existing Microsoft MDS and extends it to provide enterprise-grade support as part of our platform offering. We enable organizations to take their data, to match it up, to cleanse it, to master and create golden records out of that process, and then enable you to harmonize it back to your line of business systems. So that's this concept of being able to create golden records, as our master records are called, once we've created them through the Master Data Maestro system. We can also do that because of our in-memory technology so fast that you can now do master data management as a real-time activity. And that means to say that rather than treating all of this as a batch-related activity, we can now do it on a real-time operational basis to master data in real time. And we do that in a number of different ways, and some of that is enabled through our adapters, And Tim's already mentioned the fact that we have adapters that support things like Salesforce and Dynamic CRM. And what we mean here is the fact that we can bidirectionally exchange information so that when you change, say, a customer account on Microsoft Dynamics, it's automatically updated in Maestro, and then Maestro masters that record and then pushes it out to other line of business systems that use that account information, and where necessary also take amended versions of those records and take those updates and apply them back to Dynamics, all seamlessly and all done through a message bus sitting behind the scenes to keep the information in sync and very tightly managed. To give you an idea of where we extend MDS, this diagram here shows you the grey sections that SQL Server MDS provides. Those are in grey, and the things that we extend with Master Data Maestro in blue. And you can see here that there are a number of different capabilities that we extend the capability of MDS using things like real-time integration. We have a very powerful matching engine that enables us to match records together, deduplicate those, and then create masters and then push those records back to other places. And we do that within an environment that's very easy to use, that provides an interface that enables business data stewards to take and see that data and make changes themselves, rather than having to rely upon people in IT to do them for them. And what that means to say is, as IT people, we can get on with doing the day job of managing our information, but also having our business colleagues contributing to managing that information and making decisions about how that data should be managed themselves. And that really only works with a technology that enables business people to be able to readily do that. So the next step really is to show you how that technology actually works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop out of the presentation and show you Master Data Maestro. This is a technology, provides a client interface that enables business users to access information, and we'll show you how that works within this environment. So this is connecting through to our Maestro server structure. The Maestro server talks through to Microsoft MDS, so everything that we change here through the desktop interface will be updated directly into the SQL Server engine, and that's where we can impact change, and that's where we can use the power of SQL Server to manage our data assets, as you know and love so much already as part of your day job. So the interface you see before you is designed around a business data steward. That's where they might be interested in having a look at the data that we've modeled so far in terms of our entities and attributes. They may be interested in seeing the hierarchies that have been structured, and I'll show you some product hierarchy information in a moment. But also, as a process, they'll be interested in reviewing the results of the mastering and matching process. So they want to have a look at the matching results. We'll see a bit of that in a moment. But also they might be interested in seeing who's changed the data already. So this audit feature enables business users to be able to identify various different transactions that have taken place. And if they have the right security clearance, then they can back out those changes and reset data values, still in an auditable, controlled, secure environment. And that can be quite powerful to enable business users to do that in a controlled environment. Also, they can check to see various different validation issues as they've gone on. So they can see whether or not particular business rules have updated data, whether or not there's a particular challenge around the data quality and whether or not they need to address those. And we'll have a look at the impact of that as we go through the technology. So let me just walk you through the desktop here so that you can see how it operates. I'm logged on as on myself onto my server. This is integrated with Microsoft Active Directory, so I only have access to those models and parts of the data model that's managed within that I have access to, and I can only change things that I have appropriate security clearance to update. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that I'm connected through to a specific server. Now, in this instance, we could use this desktop tool to be able to connect to perhaps the development environment to the system test, the QA environment, and our production environment. And providing I've got security clearance, I can use the desktop tool to do that and to view and access information, possibly with different privileges at each server that I connect through to. And those connections you can see are listed here in the center. Those connections I use to run different types of demonstration models, but that's where I might flip between accessing information on the UK server as opposed to updating the information that's contained on a German server, for example. And much like Visual Studio, we also run a concept of workspaces. So that's where we can pre-configure data so that it matches our requirements in terms of how we structure data, view it on the screen, but we can also package up that workspace and provide it to various different groups and departments that may be consuming the information. So I might set up a particular view of our account information purely for our marketing team to be able to run marketing campaigns. So let's have a look and see what that looks like. I'm going to open up this customer B2C workspace, and that contains information that we have around the customers' data that we have within our system. And you can see that that presents information in a very straightforward and easy to view manner. We've got some data across the top underneath this customer tab that shows us which model we're looking at and which version of the number of versions that I have available to me are open at this moment in time. I can see the customer entity is the one that we're having a look at, and we have a number of groups running across these tabs that allow me to link data together and show it for specific purposes. So at the moment we're having a look at customer data, we're having a look at standardized address, phone numbers, email addresses, and the city in which they belong to. Now in this environment, it's designed to look a little like Excel. That makes it easier for people to be able to understand how that information is delivered and how easy it is to be able to manipulate it. So I might choose to have this city column moved around. I might choose to hide this particular column because it's not useful for me. And that was done via a context-sensitive right mouse click button to be able to move the information around. You can see that there's an ability to be able to perhaps sort various or filter different values. So here, again, I could filter on the value just to see all of the data records that sit within Atlanta. So I can quickly narrow down the types of information that I want to see down to a subset where I can understand and get to grips with that data using this filtering and sorting type mechanism that I've shown you so far. So let's expand it back out to the full set here. Now, as part of this, you can see that we have data coming from multiple different source systems. So what we're doing here through the record set is we've probably used an ETL tool to take information from our different line of business systems and pull them together into Master Data Maestro. That enables us then to be able to understand the various different components of that data. We might have our best telephone numbers coming from the CRM system, but we might have our best delivery date coming from a sales order processing system. So one of the things that Maestro does through a process of our matching engine is to match the records together via a number of different terms, either via exact and fuzzy matches, but a whole way of connecting the data and grouping that, and then through a process that we call survivorship, cherry picking the attributes that make best sense and promoting those into our golden record, the record that we're going to persist, and then the one that perhaps we're then going to integrate with the rest of our line of business systems. So as a business user, once I've had a look at some of the data and understand that, I might come back here to the menu structure and have a look at the matching results. And here what this does is it shows us the data in a dashboard type view that shows us how our information has been matched using what we call the matching strategy. Now the matching strategy matches the records and puts it into a series of buckets. They're either approved, unique, proposed, or rejected here. And you can see the pie chart that represents that information. So the green section of the pie chart shows our approved matches, and we're doing pretty well on this strategy. It's managed to automatically match 91.4% of our records. We've got 15 unique records. That's possibly our net new customers that we've acquired, perhaps through our CRM system. But as a data steward, I might be interested in having a look, because I run this part of the business and are responsible for customers. I might be interested in having a look at the proposed matches. Those are ones where the records have not been successfully matched to a level of standard that makes them achieve an upper threshold to make them approved, but they've not been mismatched either. So they've put them in this intermediate box called a proposed match. And now I can drill through this to see some records that are in an intermediate state. And here you can see those 10 records at the top. And as I choose a specific record, you can see the other records that are associated with it here in the bottom grouping. Here you can see the letter the record we have highlighted, Alan Bosch. You can see that there's also an Alana Bosch, which perhaps is the same person, but it could be male and female, husband and wife, part of the same people at the same address. But across the top, we've created this golden master record sitting across the top, and that's the one that we may use to push through to our CRM system, for example. And now, as a data steward, I've got the ability to either approve or reject this match, and then move on through the workflow of managing other parts of our data. So that's quite critical to the way that we enable the business user to be able to sit down and analyze the data. We manage the way that the information sits. We give the end user an opportunity to use this desktop interface to be able to manage the flow of information and to be able to make business decisions without having to go back to somebody in IT to physically update the data or to run back to the line of business system and do it there. So that's a mechanism of being able to manage the information and use the automated matching process to assist the business users to make decisions around how they're matching and mastering their data. So one of the things I also want to show you here today is I want to show you the kind of impact of not getting the data right. And I'm going to show you a Power BI report that I've created on the basis of some information that I've got around product. And this is from my experience in building business intelligence systems before in the past, something that typically happens. We from IT create dashboards and reports that can be very similar to the kind of thing that you see in front of you. Total sales with a graph that shows the product category and underneath the product subcategory, and then underneath that individual sales, that rolls up to show how successful we are about selling product across the entire range of product lines. But when I typically put this in front of a business user, particularly if it's somebody on the board, they might well turn around and say, well, actually, I don't believe that. The numbers just don't look right. Those home appliances are way too big to compare with the other categories in my business. So if I just drill through that data, the one thing that we'll see there is that in that home appliances category, we've got subcategories here, one of which is computer accessories, and that's clearly wrong. The value is also quite high, and that means to say that it's skewing the results. And by having that miscategorization of information, means to say that we could be making the wrong business decisions, we could be making investment in the wrong areas, something that we need to be able to correct. And more importantly, we need to correct it in one place and do that very quickly so that we can get on with creating the right kind of results that we need to manage things effectively. So I'm going to show you how we change that using Maestro. So I've got a hierarchy here that's managed around the retail products, and we have a hierarchy called our product category. What that does is it enables us to understand how the products are linked together with our categories and subcategories. And that provides us with a tree view on this left-hand side and a detailed view on the right-hand side. I'm going to show you, first of all, computers. If I explode that node, you can see that we've got a series of subcategories underneath that. And then underneath each of the categories, we've got the individual products that we can see here. So that looks good. I can see that my computers all look fine there. But if I open up home appliances there, there's clearly that challenge that we noticed earlier. These computer accessories here are in the wrong place within the hierarchy. And that's not doing anybody any good. It's skewing the figures, and that's just bad. So in this instance, I'm just going to drag and drop those back onto computers here, and that reassigns it. It's taken that entire subcategory and moved it into a different category. And now when I go back to my Excel spreadsheet, what I can do here is if I just go back up again to the highest level, if I go to my data and just refresh the connection of the data that pulls through my retail product category from Maestro, and I'm just going to refresh that category here. That takes a couple of moments while it just pulls the data. And then when I close that, we see instantaneously that now computers and home appliances have been readdressed. The problem has been identified and resolved. We've refreshed the data, and now that screenshot is showing the right kind of information. So in a nutshell, those are kind of two characteristics of the way that Maestro can typically help organizations. It shows the way that we can manage data very effectively through a simple and easy to use business user interface. We can manage many different types of business data. We can manipulate it in a very effective way, such that business users can participate in modifying and improving the quality of the data themselves. And we can then take the results of that and push it through into our line of business systems through a process that we call harmonization, or we can use it to manage and correct the information that we're having in our business intelligence systems to make sure that we're reporting on that infamous single version of the truth. And we're doing so in a controlled environment that enables you to use your core skills, core capabilities, and core infrastructure around Microsoft SQL Server to make that happen. So just to wrap up here, one of the things that I'd like to do now is just to show you the final part of our presentation. And that really is just to say that you've seen the activity that we've highlighted here. We've given you a very fast overview of the kind of things that we do inside Master Data Maestro. We've shown you some of the customers that make big use of this type of technology and dramatically impacts the way that they do business and make business decisions. But also, this is about us being able to sponsor and talk to you in greater detail when you come along to the SQL Relay events. So in terms of next steps, what we'd be liking you to do is to have a look at the website to identify which SQL Relay event you'd like to come along to, and obviously register to attend along to those. But since we're a sponsor at the event, we'll be able to talk in more detail about what Maestro and what Profisee can deliver for your organization in terms of helping you out with these kind of challenges. So come along and see us at the event, where you'll be able to learn lots more about what Profisee do, and certainly around the way that we can help you with master data management.
Great, thanks Dave, and thanks for everyone connecting in to us today, and we look forward to seeing you at SQL Relay this year.